What would we do the day that they become a majority? Remigration, even if it worked, is a limited tool, because we want to do this in a peaceful and honest way. But we want to disengage, we want to disconnect. We've had enough with Sweden now. What if we started from the completely opposite direction? We use blockchain and cryptography. Say, this is what I want from my social contract. So you vote openly, publicly. Let us judge and be judged by humanity itself. And then as a result of this judgment, we end up in different nations. So it's a sorting hat, basically. Alright, this time I would like to talk about a very important topic, I think. It is why I no longer believe in democracy and what I think needs to replace democracy. And it's not totalitarianism, it is not autocracy. It is something else, something that probably maybe you haven't even heard about. It's a kind of new idea that I've had this idea, and I've seen others have this idea also, and it's called network nations. And I will try to explain what it is and such. But first, let us go and talk a little bit about why I don't believe in democracy anymore. The premise of this channel is that the Western world is in a dire situation. We have mass migration, we have economic stagnation, but we also have horrible birth rates. We have like a civilization that is coming to an end, essentially, that has lost its ability to survive, essentially. And maybe when I say that I don't believe in democracy, I think a lot of people will feel that is controversial, because a huge part of the Western identity is democracy. We see ourselves as, we believe in freedom and democracy. That's like the liberal mindset that has formed the Western modernity to a large extent. So in a way, I think many people would say it's kind of heresy. Why don't you believe in democracy anymore? But there are pretty good reasons for it, because if you think of it, what is democracy? Democracy is like majority rule. The majority of a country can get to decide who should rule. But that becomes a huge problem if say there are groups in a society that don't like each other, that really don't like each other, that have different views on life, different views on how we should live, what rules we should live under, etc. Then that only means that majority rule means that whoever gets into power by majority, they can start to dominate the other group. So it becomes democracy just becomes like a tool for majority to rule in this sense. Like for nationalists, a very common example, I mean, what would happen the day like if Muslims migrate more and more into the Western society? What would we do the day that they become a majority? Would we then just say, okay, now you are the majority, now you get to decide, so we all just have to live in caliphates, we all have to respect all the Sharia laws, or how it's pronounced, and so then, if we don't believe in democracy in such a situation, why would we believe in democracy now? If it's a system that just tells us like that the majority should rule. without any limit, essentially. Yeah, there are limits, of course. We have like this free speech, but everyone knows that whoever gets into power in a democracy will have the power to erode any civil rights that there is. There will eventually be a loss of freedom with democracy, because democracy inherently doesn't respect freedom. And also, it's very ironic, like there are a few philosophers in history that maybe didn't have the right solution, but they had a very good description of the problem. And I think one of these are Carl Schmitt. He was a philosopher during before the Second World War in Germany, and he described the situation when you have a country with different groups of people that are enemies, essentially. And he described this situation that the democracy cannot solve this problem, because these groups will just start to fight for power, and trust and loyalty will break down, and then you will have a balkanization, or there will be a conflict that democracy cannot solve. And their solution, of course, was totalitarianism and autocracy. So that was their solution. But I think now we have, of course, the lesson learned was that didn't work. It just led to a lot of war, and it didn't result in anything positive, so to say. Now we have this new idea of network nation. I'm gonna to explain more about what that is, because I think a lot of people don't even have a understanding of what is network nations. Network nation is essentially that today we have countries that have it's a geographical area, and inside the countries we have a state that governs this area, and then we have the people in there. And the people, the nationalist ideal is that we have a nation state. So the nation are the people inside the state, and the state is theirs. So there's like a connection, and a nation is a people bound by tradition, loyalty, and so on. They kind of have a shared destiny. So the people. So that's a nation state and how it works today. But what if we started from the completely opposite direction? We say, okay, let's build the nation first. Like let's go out on the internet and connect with people. We try to connect with people who are like-minded. I'm here, I believe in these values. I believe in this and this. I believe in Christian ethics, for example. I believe in freedom, for example. Here am I, who want to build a nation together with me. And then we start to connect and build nations online. And once we have built nations online, then maybe, or not maybe, the idea is then to, once we have the nations, to try to make these manifest as some form of legal entity. So like you build a nation, maybe like in a country, and that of course is a whole discussion in itself. How can that be? What kind of? But I envision a kind of, imagine like a country like Sweden. Today Sweden has one state that everybody who is citizen of Sweden are a part of. Belongs to this state. But what if we had like a federal state instead of Sweden, a federation, and then we have network states under that, and then we can have one network state for nationalist, one nation state for feminist and woke people, and then we can have another, and the Muslims can have their own nation state, and these are states that like in the USA, for example, it's like we have a federal state, and then we have states under it. So it's the same idea, but but in this case, maybe the network nation is not geographically connected, but you could anyway. I mean, you could economically connect, like you can have all the things that, because today a state is a lot of things. It's like, yeah, they make rules for like infrastructure, like roads and electricity and stuff like the infrastructure. But they also have like hospitals, welfare systems, schools, etc. But my idea here is that if we rebuild our countries, our states to like a federation of these network nations, then the network nations can do things like schools, welfare, etc. So you would only share certain basic infrastructure together with people in the federation, but you could, like, the more culturally sensitive areas like schools and welfare, etc., would be something that you would only share together with your nation state that lives inside the federation. So that's the kind of vision for network nations. And if you think of it, I mean, there's a lot of talk amongst nationalists about remigration. But I think remigration, even if it worked, is a limited tool, because even imagine if you could, like, today in the West we have a problem. We have a lot of people who have incompatible culture that has come to Europe, for example. Even if we could remigrate all the people who are incompatible with us, we would still just go back to stage 0, which was how Europe looked like 40, 50 years ago. And that was what led us to where we are today. Would we just rewind the tape, but then we would start to drift forward again and probably have the same problems again. And one major factor in this is that we gave women the right to vote, for example. So a lot of the policies we have today in our democracy is feminized ideas, and while we might like women, it's not so sure that they have the right instincts to build a civilization and build a proper nation state. So what network nation would also give us is an opportunity to decouple from the female voters. So like if we have an idea of how we want to build a nation state, we can do that independently of women, because we can separate from them and build our own nation. And then they can choose to do whatever they want. They can remain in their own nation. And this, of course, I mean, you could marry across nations, so it's not like, of course, but there will be a core nation state of a culture that could remain protective of what it thinks is important. So that is why I think even though I know many nationalists now try to work towards remigration, I think network nation is like the next thing. And also, like, there's no guarantee also that the remigration will ever succeed. Like, because you have a situation now that half of the people who vote in our democracy are women, and they have very liberal mindset, and a lot of people who vote in our elections now are also immigrants themselves that want to replace our culture with something else. So maybe the idea that nationalists could really win elections in a serious way could be impossible also. So that is also why I think it's so important to start to talk about network nation and separatism instead, because we might not win this battle against the women and the Muslims and all the people who want to change our culture towards something else. And if we cannot really win in a democracy, what we can do then, and not if we don't want to go the totalitarian way that the Nazis and stuff like that did, we don't want to do that. We want to do this in a peaceful and honest way. But what we can do is we can start to build network nations, and then at some point we can say we want to disengage, we want to disconnect. We now have, like, imagine for example in Sweden we have 1 million. It's about 9 million people in Sweden. Imagine if 1 million nationalists suddenly say that we've had enough with Sweden now. We want to disconnect. We want to build our own nation state within the state. So please, now we must rearrange Sweden to a federation, and we want our own culture, we want our own laws, we want our own things. Maybe within the borders of Sweden we can cooperate about things like infrastructure, etc. But we want our own schools, we want our own welfare, we want our own etc. So, and we have that as a serious discussion with politicians, etc. So I think that is something we need to have a serious discussion about. And it's called network nation, network states. One thing more, this whole idea about connecting to network nations, how would I see it done? How to implement this? I think there's a very straightforward way. It's like we use blockchain and cryptography can be used to create to vote publicly online. So you I have my I vote publicly. I say I vote this, and it's no one can tamper with it. There's no it's very safe technology. And what we can do with this is we can say we all vote publicly about what our ideals are, what we want, and also it's connected to social contract also, because when you vote in this kind of election, you say this is what I want from my social contract. I want a nation state that believes in this and these and these values. So that's. So at the same time as you vote on this, or you form the nation, the network nation, you at the same time negotiate the social contract with others. So you vote openly, publicly, and you use this to judge others also. So you can say that I want everybody in my nation state, I want people who have Christian ethics, who believe in freedom, but I don't want anyone who believes in Allah, for example. I don't want it in my nation. So you can. So we are all judged, and we can all judge. So you can say that I want this person in my nation state, I don't want that person, and then you create a priority list of all the people you want in your nation. And we can use the computer system. Oh no, this can be done like independently by everyone who shares the same data in this blockchain. So we can all together, verified, 100% safe, build these nations from blockchain data. in this channel I'm also running this religious project. I want to it's called Reciprocalism. It's a form of Christianity, but how it ties into that is what I see this kind of public voting I see as a kind of judgment day. Actually, it's like we all together, let us judge and be judged by humanity itself, and then as a result of this judgment we end up in different nations. It's actually, if you think about Harry Potter, when the kids come to the Hogwarts school, it's like they have this sorting hat and they get put into these teams. I don't remember what they're called. It's very similar to that, but we build it in real life, and we build it as a blockchain database system. Blockchain is essentially the blockchain technology is a distributed encrypted database that cannot be tampered with. So that's the technology we can use to build this system. So it's a sorting hat, basically. We sort everyone. Like let the nationalists go here, let the crazy feminists go here, the Muslims can go here, and then we have different nation states, and then we can actually, within these nation states we can actually use democracy, because then we are together with people who are loyal to us and that we know have the same goal as us. So then democracy will work. And of course, people who don't want democracy, they can like if the Muslims, for example, if they want theocracy or something, they can have it if they want, because it's their nation state. That also opens a lot of interesting things. Like we can start to compete. Who can like create the most the best society, etc. And we can also negotiate. Like if we have some grievances between these nation states, we have a platform to have negotiations. Like if we notice that their members out of their nation state target members out of our nation state with crimes, etc., then it's no longer a criminal issue. Then it becomes like a security issue. You can start to negotiate about this. You can have trade. We can have trade sanctions, for example, if some nation state misbehaves, etc. So there's a lot of possibilities, and I think it would help us to get out from this like I think today the West is paralyzed. We're paralyzed. We see all the problems, but we can't do anything, because we always need to get majority in the But network nations is a way out from that paralysis. So yeah, I hope that is a good introduction of this subject, and I've actually written a kind of book about this. You can find it in the description below. It's called Mutual Democracy. I didn't even use the word network nation there. Or maybe I used it, okay. But this is such a new idea that like the terminology of it isn't even fixed. But I know there was another guy that wrote a book recently about network nation. So I think network nation is the established term for this idea. So that was all for today. So see you, thanks, and bye bye.